Hi, I'm Mike Thompson, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I built this version 2 power box for my Foundry. I started with the grounding bus bar here and cut it into several pieces. Then I drilled out the holes at the end so that I could mount these bus bars to some insulators here in a minute. I'm locating my solid state relay here dead center in my box because I want it to be far away from everything else and just, to have even heat extraction from it. So I'm marking my holes here, and then I'll drill and tap them. I'm going to use 1/2 inch 832 socket head cap screws. I tapped it like this for the first one, but then I got tired, and then I decided to tap it like this for every other hole. It's much, much easier. All right. And now my power is going to come in here. This is going to be mounted on a 1-inch EMT conduit, basically like a mast, like my previous Foundry was, that I built that was larger. So then this conduit connector is going to go in here like this. I think I'm going to want my screw facing forward ultimately, but these are all just test fits. And then this nut, of course, here goes on the inside to secure it. Make sure that's all going to work fine. Make sure it's going to be tight enough because I really don't want to have to weld this. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. And I can crank it down with pliers too if I need to. This tab's got to go too because power has to have some way to get into this box. And it's going to go here with this little clamp. About like so. And a test fit looks pretty good. This is 10 gauge cord off of an old bandsaw. Then I'm going to go with a heat sink here that I got from an old processor. I need to drill and tap this, of course, so that it can ultimately screw onto the back of that solid state relay. Now I'm using my grinder here and then a Dremel to cut a square hole for the controller to go in this box. And it drops in like so. I'll probably secure it later, but maybe I won't have to. Gravity will be in my favor. Then I drill 2 holes for the switches. That'll control the solid state relay output and the cooling fan, maybe. I'm not going to install the cooling fan just yet. I may be able to get away without it because this box is bigger and I've got that heat sink on the back. Then I can screw my relay to the back. I've got some thermal grease in between the relay and the box. And then I can fish my thermocouple wires here in through my mast. Those are looking pretty bad. I'm gonna put new terminals on it. So then I cut some ABS plastic and then affixed my little bus bars to them. And then I can screw the plastic to the box. And you can see obviously those screws don't penetrate through the ABS because I need this to insulate. I'm going to put them about there, of course, on the inside, but this will allow me to get the position. I'll just drill my holes in line with these larger mount holes here for the box, and that should be fine. Get my screws through. Then I had to use these screws here to create threads into the ABS because it was just too hard to get this all together otherwise. And then 4 screws and fasten it on down. Like I said, it was a little bit difficult, but pre-threading the ABS made it much, much easier. There was just no way to do it otherwise. All right, and there's bus bars look pretty darn good. So now I can bring in my power wire here and connect it to the bottom of my bus. Now, of course, this other bus is not a neutral bus. These are both hot buses because everything in here runs off 240. One thing I love about electrical connections is they use square drives a lot, and square drives simply don't strip out. All right, that'll go like that. So I've got my 2 buses hooked up, and now I can start to strip the 6 gauge wire that's going to go down to feed the coils. One of these will go to the white hot bus and one will go to the relay. So I can feed it through here, and I'll hook up the white bus first. If I can get it. This stuff's stranded, but it's still very, very stiff. I certainly wouldn't want to do this with solid wire. There we go. And now I can tighten down the connection for the solid state relay. This runs to the controller. This is a low voltage DC that actually activates the relay. And then I can screw on my thermocouple wires here and the other ports of my controller. 6 connections are now complete. I've got the black and white power wires for the controller, the green wires that control the relay, and then my 2 thermocouples. And time to button it all up. It looks pretty good. Like I said, I'll install the cooling fan later if I really need to. But so far, I don't think I'm going to have to. I've got plenty of metal to dissipate heat. And now on this pull elbow, I'll drill and tap these 2 holes so that I can mount this to my mask, because I really don't want to weld this. And this pot metal here is not going to weld well anyway to an EMT conduit. So these 2 here extra screws from my bus bar will hold everything in place. And just like so. And the great thing about this is it'll still fold down like the old one will. I'll just loosen one of these bus bar screws and fold it if I ever need to for transport or storage. All right, and now I can fish my 2 coil wires and my thermocouple through the pull elbow. This pull elbow is a lot better than the previous thing. I had a short on the little screw on the inside that probably was kind of egged on by the fact that I had a screw penetrating to hold this vertical. So this pull elbow with set screws is going to be much better. This is almost an identical design to the one I did previously for furnace number 3 or 4, the big one. And we'll button it all up like so. And the great thing about the use of the bus bars and the pull elbow is it's easy to replace components. Fire it up. This thing gets going really quick. It's almost 6,000 watts. And you can see here the numbers just take off once the power gets to the coils and they finally come up to full color temperature. But it just goes and goes. And then the little out light, you can see there, shuts off. It starts to slow down and coast up to the set temp. And then after a little bit, it kind of brackets it back and forth, but then usually settles down really close to where you actually set it. So I like this. This is an Inkbird ITC 100VH. And there we go. That's pretty darn close. And here you can see the overall connection down to my box that covers up my coil connections and my thermocouple. And there's the heatsink on the back. Well, that's it. This was a really neat build, and it's a whole lot better than what I had before. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Mike Thompson, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.